Well, it's cloudy and overcast, and I guess it's gonna rain tonight or tomorrow. Well, we had rain already, and of course, I'm up here in Memphis, and I really feel for the people in Texas that's going through Hurricane Harvey. I went through Hurricane Katrina. I lived in New Orleans for like a little over a year and a half, and the reason I left was because I ended up in the Superdome for 6 nights and 6 days, and they actually took me to Texas, and there was mixed feelings. There was a lot of people take advantage of people when they're a disaster, because they give you a little bit, a tiny bit of money. I think they gave us like $2,000 this one time. But to be honest with you, when you have to get everything, because I remember when they gave us a debit card, they put it on, and the only thing that was concerned about us was going to a bar and using it. And I'm like, well, can we take cash out of the debit card? And the guy really looked at me like he was pissed. But like, if you lost everything, and hell, if you want to drink, you know, but they were more concerned that we're going to use this money to go get drugs. People are there, you needing a change of underwear. You need another outfit, even though people had donated clothes and stuff like that. But there's just certain things you need, and people are donating deodorant, shampoo, toothbrushes, and toothpastes and stuff like that, and even sanitary napkins. So shampoo and stuff like that. But if you're like totally homeless, those toiletries and stuff like that is nice. Um, I remember like the Salvation Armies where I got like the same type of camouflage bras, and I didn't realize how people in Memphis cause like it just seemed like I was wearing this one bra all the time, but I had like four of them, but they were all the same exact same thing. But I remember the Salvation Army, like they was giving out coffee, and she's like, you don't have one sugar, and you have to have like a one of that one of the sweet loaves, and I'm like, I can't have a sweet loaf. I'm allergic to sweet loaf. And she just went off of me. What if you're diabetes? And I'm like, well, what if you're allergic to the sweet loaf? And she just wouldn't have it. She just had a real fucking problem. So like some people when they're helping you, they have a real, and she was black, she had a real problem, and it must have been embarrassing for us to see black people in such a state that we was in after being in and they didn't even hook up the shower right away, and they got mad at us because a lot of us just went ahead and had to wash up in the shower. I mean, there was chemical spills and all this other stuff. There's a chemical plant that was on fire. So it was just, and we were, I mean, please, after 6 days, 6 nights and 6 days. But anyway, like a lot of people act like we're gonna use the hurricane as the way to get over, because the people that are left there are the poor, are the handicapped, are the elderly, and so yeah, maybe they didn't have a highfalutin house or all like maybe they didn't maybe some of them didn't have cars, some of them drove their cars to the Superdome, and they were across the street, and we got to see the effects that the water did to to these cars. And so and like Macy's was there, all their windows on one side where we could see all was blown out, and like the cars somehow their hoods and their trunks ended up like up in the air. It was sort of weird. Of course, I think it was like 7 feet of water right around there. It was a lot of water. There was water everywhere, and that was pretty bad. I remember when they saved this one dog, and he came in there. He was just, I don't know, all this gook on him, and there was like a National Guard guy there, like, because nobody's like gonna, like, I guess was gonna go in the water or whatever. And we were just No, egging the dog on, egging the dog on. I remember we all cheered for the dog. Finally made it, made it. I was like, oh, that poor dog. He was so exhausted, And there was human beings that was coming through there too. You come in there, and there's no water. Well, and they started treating us really bad. They pointed guns at us, and you would think that that black people really are like terrorists, But but the only people I see being uh, hurtful and harmful to it's like either like but there are a lot of black people. They'll get it like there's this one guy. He got a job as a maintenance job. He's like bragging. He don't do nothing. He's over the whole department. He works for the city or whatever. But he's like anything that you say about well, they need to take down those Confederate statues. Oh well, that's their heritage, and I'm like, well, our heritage is being American citizens. We my people fought in every war. Even the Civil War. So we fought in every war since the white man stepped his foot on there. But he wanted to defend him and everything else. And then the trigger word is Hillary Clinton. He was like, I'm talking about something. I just happened to mention Hillary Clinton as being one of the women that I was talking about in the Republican parties, just one of many. He's like, Hillary Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Hillary Clinton. And it was like he was stuck. And I just, I just looked at him and I was like, he started walking away, like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, whatever, you're just wrong. And he's like, wrong? I'm like, yeah, you're just way wrong. But, because like in the South, what it's really damaged. People are really damaged, very damaged. But that's what's and then you have the racist white people taboo. Oh, that's another thing. He was saying that all white people they all stick together, like they're all in one club, and ain't no white person gonna, like to them they're all Ku Klux Klan, they're all this and this, and you gotta remember the only time these I'm living here, there's no white people. The only time he's ever been around white people is when he went to school or after he got a job. So his comprehension of what white people are different than mine are. I grew up in Hell's Kitchen in New York, where at one time they had signs that said Irish don't need to apply, when it comes to getting a job. It's like no Irish here. So they made them all policemen. So if you want to have somebody to historically be prepped to harm people of color, other people, what they did historically to the Irish, they get their little job, they get their little power, say, then they was a violent people. They took their anger out. And so in that way it was done in such a way that it was intentional, to have the divide, to have a racial divide. And be able to marginalize the poor whites in such a way. But oh yeah, you're better, you're gonna arrest them, So that's why you have a lot of injustice in the justice system now. Um, uh, because of the way the police department the history of the way the police department is, like when the white people came to the South, and Hitler studied that, what they did with the Indians, what they did with the black folks. Mostly they were just putting them in jails to house these black folks. So, and then they used the church and the propaganda with the church to, oh well, they're sinners, you have black mothers who's like, well, he must have did something wrong, or well, I remember like this one guy who pointed out to me that a lot of they'll be like saying like, what did my child do? If somebody like the teacher calls them in, opposed to what's going on, what happened, they're quick to want to go ahead and blame their child, you know. But anyway, I hope that well, I'm pretty sure in Texas it's going to be uh, different for them. Um, I don't know. I don't know. There's a big, huge Hispanic pop people there, and I don't think that the Mexican and Hispanics understood where they stood in the eye of the white man. I think they thought they were, you know, like in Wichita, Kansas, like the Spanish people there, like in the Mexicans there, they don't even speak Spanish anymore. They want to accolade into to the white society. If you're a female, you marry a white guy, and then you change your last name, so you know you cover it up. But basically that's what their goal is to for, and it's just like the Muslims here. The majority is like the one that's up at the store. They could pass for Caucasian. And um, one thing I notice about Muslims and Christians, it's the way they treat women. I would say all three religions that use the same that say they use the same Bible, except for um, um, they're different, because of different versions that they used of it, like the King James, opposed to another written by some. But anyway, but they all have the same sort of thing when it comes to women and how to treat women and the place of women. And we're not putting women in the place to where they need to, so we can have healthy, smart children. You know, there's always exceptions, like the Chinese. You see that the women there really take great pride, and I think it's a joint thing with the woman and the husband. So I think that's how that works. But it had great pride in teaching their kids, and because like you see white races are like, oh, the Chinese are smarter. Well, it's not that they're smarter. It's just that their women are more attendant and more nurturing to their children. And that was going on before that one child thing. I think that might have twisted it them a little bit. Um, but yeah, it's a terrible thing to happen. The hurricane Harvey is. I feel for those people. I know about how bad the flooding was going to be, and I wasn't originally I didn't grow up in New Orleans, so there was no way I was going back there. So as New Orleans is one of those places that before it hit, I had like like when you get away sort of from the tourist area, you get to the ninth floor, you got a little bit of like you felt like you were a little bit third world country. You felt like more like these were island people. You felt like like the black people that were the Indians. They felt it more grounded, more and you know what I mean. So in a way, I thought that if there was a way to make a hurricane, like if you testing nuclear bombs or something, it might, down in the ocean, it might, um, who knows, cause a weather change or whatever. Um, yeah, that they struck them on purpose like that, to separate these people because a lot of them was living in the true reality, you know, and I see a lot of people here in Memphis. They're not living like what I would call the true reality. If they have a disaster, even me, if we have a disaster, we're dependent on the corporations, for food. We're dependent, um, electricity goes out. That means like the ATM machines, your phones. Well, most people have cell phones. If you have a car, as long as you'd be able to keep your cell phones charged. But your whole our whole way of life is dependent on this capitalist systems that that makes us very dependent on money as a way of surviving. And if you're in a hurricane like Katrina, uh, and like I could only imagine Harvey is for these people in Texas, is that all that goes out of the window. You know, simple fact, you can't get to the store. So, you know, that's where the more creative mind that's not creative in the way we get it today, sexually or corruptly, or uh, these narcissistic behaviors that we have, uh, that we have tendencies to each other, and you can see it in the bullying. So that's the part, like you electricity go out there was the plumbing in the Superdome, and then they was just so nasty and mean to us, like we was all a bunch of criminals and stuff like that. And if you're producing that many criminals that could fill up the Superdome in the United States, may I state again, we need to fix our schools. We need to bring manufacturing jobs back here. We need to invest in reusable, and maybe even, as Tulsa had image, free electricity pulling out of there. Maybe we should invest back in the science. Invest back in human beings, uh, and uh, 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 and try to not as pollute as much, but just invest in our children. Make sure our children, like, not they're not, well, like, I was at the store and this lady's like, I'm just getting these hot dogs for my kids, and I'm like, that's smart. Feed your kid that garbage while they're young. You know what I'm saying? And she's looking at me, no, 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 it's good to feed your kids. Oh, I'll feed your kids this, and like there was these like cheap chicken nuggets, but they were chicken skin. Some of the food that we cater to our kids is causing all type of health problems, you know, uh, uh, um, and even learning problems, like in Flint, Michigan, with the water. The way our government officials, and the way the Republicans, and the way Trump, and the all right, and the white supremacists are thinking is eroding and self-destroying the fabric of the United States, and it makes it easy for countries like Russia and China to take a bigger grab, a bigger hold by using people like Trump and his coonies as little pawns that they enrich, so um, they could be the Russia puppet, to do their bidding. And their whole thing is to have a bigger racial division, to have a racial war here in the United States, so that basically they could come in and Russia, wherever it goes in, its plans is not very planned on what to do afterwards, because you know Russia itself needs to probably worry more about Russian business, and I think the United States needs to be more concentrated on how we're going to get manufacturing jobs back here, and not being used by the rest of the world uh, as the consumers. I mean, we got to do something, because we can't have these hurricanes continue coming when it's fossil fuel and man-made, basically. If we could go to electric cars, if we could go to solar energy, if we could go to wind, uh, um, um, this will get people back to work. It's a new industry, and we can open up these businesses and these factories here, even if um, we have to go bankrupt. I'm so excited. Even if maybe as a country we might have to do some type of like I don't know. The thing is it's going to be nonviolence, and white supremacists. They're trying to say that Black Lives, is a terrorist group, but they don't want to say neo Nazis is a terror group. They don't want to say the KKK is a terrorist group. You know, they don't want to say the alt right's a terrorist group. When I saw on Vice, these people that loaded down with weapons, this guy, you know, actually shot into the crowd. Nobody else shot back at him, and I don't care what the Republicans or Trump says. You know, the ones that are carrying the guns and the ones that are shooting at people, the ones that are running people over with cars, are the violent ones. And you can say whatever else lie you want to twist out your motherfucking face, but you got it real fucked up if they don't straighten this out. It's, you know, it's gonna get worse. You know, it's not gonna get better. You know, and if we have to, you know, like, and I don't think it's gonna happen because, like, you know, I see here nobody gives a fuck really about politics. We got boxing to worry about, football to worry about. I don't give a fuck. They gotta work 40 hours a week. You know, they gotta keep up with the Joneses. They gotta have spend all their money on a kid's birthday party. You know, go to the food bank the rest of the month. So, you know, anyway, I don't think things are going to change unless, you know, we're sitting here in the United States with no electricity, no water, and grocery stores empty, and people are not comprehending anymore how to feed, clothes, and house themselves because we've been dependent on going to Walmart's. We've been dependent on going to Cereals. We've been on going to Whole Foods and Kroger's and Aldi's and you know, Foot Locker, you know, the dollar store, and etc. for our goods instead of using our cleverness and our intelligence, you know. And I think that's what's going to happen. They're going to put us back in this, like, well, hell, we'll be before the Stone Age. We'll be back in the caveman age.